The truth of the matter is, there are many things that work to help you become successful. The real question is, are you going to be consistent with that strategy, with that tactic, with that technique long enough so that you can see the results? It's your favorite Dr. Honey, Dr. Faith Abraham, and welcome back to our channel. Today we're talking about how I was able to use an abundant mindset to change my entire life and how you can do the same for yourself as well. So for those of you who don't know my story, I literally did everything everyone told me to do: go to school, get good grades, graduate, get a degree. Got a degree, and I went looking for a job. Literally $9 an hour was basically what I was offered. And I even did that through a temp agency. So you just know that that wasn't a lot of money. And it was so frustrating and so difficult. And one of the things that I kept asking myself is, how come other people, because I literally had friends who weren't looking for jobs, who didn't need a job. I had a one guy friend, he would sit there and he would get a job. Something would happen, right? They did something to him. He would quit, and literally within days, he would get another job, and it would be paying well. And I'm like, are you serious? And I knew my GPA was much higher than his, right? Now, fast forward how many years later, those things don't even matter. It was really about who he knew and how he could get in there. Nevertheless, one of the things that I realized on my journey of going from $9 an hour to building several different businesses, some with my husband, one of them being Vonza.com, which is valuated at over $25 million. It was really a change in my identity, how I saw myself, how I carried myself, and being able to move away from my past and the things that I learned from my past versus who my future self was and what that meant for me and what she looked like. Like, I really had a hard time seeing myself and envisioning myself where it was I wanted to go. And one of the things I often did was looked at other people, and they would be my blueprint. They'd be my example. They'd be like, I would be like, oh, that speaks to me. Oh, I love that. This. But the problem with that is you're literally relying and waiting on something passive to come your way, and then you align with that versus having something already that you've envisioned and you've created within your mind, and now that thing shows up. So there's a passive way and an active way. And so one of the tools and the strategies I used in changing my life was visualization. And visualization is super duper important. It's literally what God told Abraham to do when he said, Abraham, or well, at that time he was Abram. So Abram, go out, count the stars. As many of the stars that you can count, that's how many your descendants will be. Well, we're talking about, hundreds and thousands of stars in the sky. And at that point in time in Abram's life, he didn't even have a child, let alone God showing him all the stars in the sky and saying, that's how many descendants that you're going to have. So that was literally God giving Abraham that tool of visualization, seeing himself greater, more, bigger, more robust than where he was in that moment, which was childless. He didn't even have a child at that time. But it allowed Abraham to see, Abram to see his future and where he was going and what God had in mind for him. So it's the same thing with visualization. It gives you the opportunity to actively craft in your mind and visualize in your mind where you're going, what you want to achieve, what you want to do, what you see for yourself, right? Like that. And what's happening is your brain is now, like, say you're doing visualization, right? Say you're doing visualization, right? And you have committed yourself to doing this every day, 10 minutes a day, before you start your day, before you get on social media, before you start watching TV, listening to the news, call your mama and them and everybody else. You are taking that time and that opportunity to visualize your future. And when you're doing that, your brain doesn't know the difference between something that's happening tangibly, like in real life, versus something that's just happening on the canvas of your imagination. And so what happens is you're seeing that, you're feeling that, because you're allowing your emotions to pass through. You're feeling what it looks like to be the future version of yourself. So then what happens is your brain is now taking that information and it's like, okay, this is new, this is different, we like this is powerful, because you're seeing your future self, right? You're a powerful version of you in your future, right? So you're feeling all these things. Then what happens is, because you're doing it constantly over and over and over, your reticular activating system picks up on this. And because you're being consistent, right? Now your brain is like, oh, must be real because this keeps happening over and over again. And repetition is the key to learning. So when I was envisioning my future self, I was a boss. I had kids. I had my husband. I was literally like juggling stuff, making it happen, but still that Proverbs 31 woman where she was blessed and she was praised and she was loved in her community and revered. Like that's who I saw and envisioned for myself. I saw myself hopping out of Mercedes-Benz trucks with, 4-inch, 6-inch heels on, middle part, long hair with a bust down, honey. You get what I'm saying? Like I saw this. I saw myself with microphones in my hand and speaking to audiences, like various audiences all over the world. Then here's the plus factor. Because I'm a dreamer, God would literally be giving me dreams. And I'm like, oh my God, it felt so real. Like that must be it. That's my future. And so I started, and I'm jumping into the next one here, but I started speaking out loud what I saw in my dreams and what that meant to me. And again, your reticular activating system is going to respond to anything that you present to it over and over and over again. It's literally how that bully in, growing up convinced you that you were ugly, or convinced you that you were stupid, or convinced you of whatever he convinced you of. Because you kept hearing it over and over and over again, something in your mind was like, well, maybe this is true. Maybe there's some truth to this because they keep saying it over and over again. Well, now as you're older or whatever age you are, you realize all I have to do is consistently tell myself something or expose myself to something or keep saying something out of my mouth over and over and over again. And my brain is the reticular activating system is going to kick in and start reprogramming my mind, reprogramming and literally crafting new neurological pathways that are in agreement and alignment with my visualization, with my self-talk, with my, if you happen to add this one in, journaling, and then your brain starts to literally put out into the atmosphere those signals that are needed for that to now come to you, for that to now be your actual life. Like when Jesus said, you shall have whatsoever you say. If you do not doubt in your heart and believe it, you can literally tell the mountain, be ye removed and cast into the sea, and that mountain will be ye removed and cast into the sea. Whatever you say out of your mouth and you do not doubt, you will have it. Well, what happens if you have doubt? You keep saying it. You keep saying it over and over and over again, because when you say it over and over and over again, your brain is like, this is facts. So let's make it happen. That's literally how things work out for you. And that's literally what was happening. And so a lot of the stuff that I was encountering was based on my past in college when, there wasn't a lot of stuff happening for me. Like it was, but it wasn't. And I was always having like these relationships with women that just did not work. It was always jealousy and competition. And I just did not get it because I always want my friends to win, and I just wanted friends who would do that for me, but I didn't have that much of that experience as much as I had the other one, and so that formulated how things would work out for me in the female relationships. And so that had to change. Then I had to change how I saw money, because I had a lot of limiting beliefs that just kept money away from me. Or if somebody would pay me for my services, I'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe I got this much money. Like I would kind of be freaking out internally because I just wasn't used to seeing a lot of money at one time. I remember when I had my first client, my first high ticket client, she paid like $3,000 at one time, right then and there on the spot. And I was like, are you sure you don't want to break this up into payments? I literally said to her, are you sure you don't want to break this up into payments? Because I wasn't comfortable with receiving $3,000 for my services, for my expertise, for my work. So I had to really change those aspects of my stuff. And I had to go back into my past and say, okay, what facilitated this? Why do I have these limiting beliefs? What is my deal with poverty? And like I said, in college, I didn't have money. I was going to school. I was working. I was in all the groups and clubs and stuff like that. But I was still eating ramen noodles and hot dogs as a feast meal in college. So I kind of adapted to it and got used to it. I had my car. The only thing I was really able to do with that car is get oil changes. Only God God's grace, okay? Made sure that my tire did not blow before I got back home to Houston because I was driving up and down the freeway all the time and could not afford brand new tires, okay? Don't even ask about all the other stuff that was needed. Windshield wipers, the fluid, like all that stuff, forget about it. I couldn't afford it. So I got used to that, and that was imprinted in my brain. So then when it was time to shift into my next, and it involved, of course, money and large amounts of money, it was definitely difficult. And I was always going through feast and famine in my businesses. And so that was a really big part of changing and shifting my life, being comfortable with my future self. My future self writes checks with a whole lot of zeros. My future self not only takes care of me with what I earn, but also takes care of those who work for me. My future self, is charitable, is giving, is loving, starts schools and foundations and things of that nature, right? It also takes care. Hey, I want a shopping spree. I gotta get me a good wig, honey. Like, let's not be funny about it, okay? So I still have to look good. So I have to be able to afford all of that. So that was also a part of reprogramming who I was, right? Then the other thing to change my life, and I believe that this is a really, really big key, and I don't want you to miss it, is healing. Y'all, I'm gonna tell you right now, a lot of people go into entrepreneurship to run away from healing, but all entrepreneurship does is expose the areas of your life that need healing. Big facts. Like, so the self-sabotage, the shiny object syndrome, the money issues, the feast and famines, right? The up and downs. Like, yes, in business, you kind of have ups and downs, ebbs and flows, but it shouldn't be like you're making buku money one day and then the next day you ain't making nothing. Or the next 6 months, you're not making anything. Like, that's not good. That's a sign of limiting beliefs. So working on that, healing from the past trauma, because that stuff comes up, the rejection and the way that you talk to yourself. Your self-talk is so powerful. And like, the self-talk is where the doubt and the fear and all the past stuff like really start creeping in and sabotaging what you do and what you don't do. I always tell people, like, your emotions are everything. You literally operate from a place of emotion, and your emotions can be seated in your beliefs, your belief system, your value system, what you really truly uphold inside of you, within yourself. Not just what you mentally ascend to, but like what's inside of you. Like, that's the real you under pressure. That's when you really see yourself. But if you can heal, like I always tell my clients, one of the best things they can do, and not just because they're my clients, but because it's really true. I've been an entrepreneur for years. I helped my dad with his watch hysteria when I was a kid, my mom with her law office. I was doing entrepreneurial stuff since before I realized I was doing entrepreneurial stuff. And one of the things that really showcase itself is who you really are. And if you don't do the work of processing, of healing, of uprooting, reprogramming, just doing that work that it takes to become the best version of yourself, I promise you, your past self is going to speak loudly and try to get all the attention. And that means it will sabotage anything and everything else. Finances, your money, your emotions, your spiritual life, your relational life, all that stuff gets sabotaged because your past never got a chance to speak. Our bodies are 70% water, so it doesn't forget anything. Like, mentally, you may not remember everything that happened to you, but your body remembers. And so your body will carry that thing. And then when we start doing things like going live and putting out content and posting and writing copy for our businesses, creating offers and doing all this kind of stuff, our body starts to remember the last time we were creative and we were shut down. Our body starts to remember, the last time we decided to go out on a limb and it didn't work. Those emotions are embedded in our body. So having that coach, having that counselor, having that therapist, just get it, because you will, when you're going through the healing, yes, it hurts, but once you get out of it, or once you're at least on that growth journey, you will literally thank yourself and just be like, oh, I'm so glad I did this. So those are like the 4 main things that I did to really reset and recalibrate. I have a video that I've loaded up for you that coincides with this perfectly. Watch it and let this thing get deep inside of you. If you haven't liked the video already, subscribe, don't miss it. This channel is dedicated to female entrepreneurs and creatives, multi-passionate people. We're here, okay? And we talk about the stuff that makes us tick and the stuff that can really help us to excel and move forward in life. So check the next video. I'll see you there, and God bless.